There is about 25% of the total transmission capacity was added in the last 2 years. Means the quantum that has come into the sector, investment and capacity that has been created in the sector is unprecedented. Now it has its own impact. We talked about the lack of demand. We talked about low PLF. Now this all got related to this. If the 12 plan target for capacity addition was 88,000 megawatt, and in 4 years of the 12 plan, that is from 2012 to 2016, we added 90,000 capacity. It means more than in less than 4 years, we added more than 100% of the 12 plan capacity target. Now, these are the things that has created the disruptions in the system. Apart from that, this is the one which was done by the sector, by the ministry. I'm not talking about the renewable that is coming in. That's still an external factor that is coming in. So we have to address, and the HR policies have to address all these concerns that is coming up, all the disruption that are taking place. So as Mr. Sahi was saying, certain things we could have anticipated. It was possible to anticipate. Certain things obviously we can't anticipate. But whatever we could anticipate, we should anticipate it and then get prepared for that. With large-scale physical infrastructure getting added, at the same time, there are disruptions and creative discontinuities happening in the sector. There are changes happening in all spheres, including technical, technological, and financial area. I'll elaborate to some of the points there. I'd like to highlight a few of those such changes that is taking place. Currently, about 80% of the electricity comes from the fossil fuel, as was mentioned earlier. But with the focus on the renewable and with a target of 175 gigawatt of renewable by 2020, the large-scale renewable will come into the grid. The consequential issues of integration and grid stability is a major challenge. Now, even today, we are quite far from achieving this target. Yes, this target is up to 2022, but the way the renewable is coming in, both solar and wind, it may happen that we may not do 175 gigawatt by 2022, but maybe 23, 24, we are definitely going to achieve that. But that has this impact on the grid stability. How do you want to run the power system? Renewable power generation will be through not only large-scale solar energy and wind energy, but also through decentralized generation, including rooftop. Now it has its own implications. Accurate forecasting will assume significance. One has to look at the latest technology. How do I going to integrate the system? So with limited hydro options available and large part of gas plants, as was mentioned by Dr. Sahi, being uneconomical as well as stress because of lack of availability of gas, adequate gas at an affordable price, and also these gas power plants are largely combined cycle. So the burden will come for managing a grid on the thermal power plants. So we have to flexibilize the operation of the thermal power plants to stabilize the grid. Now NTPC has already started the exercise in this regard. They have taken up 2 power plants to make it, retrofit it and make it to operate flexible and ramp it down to the PLF of about 40%. It has its consequential implications, but since your choices are not there, we don't have a choice, we don't have the luxury of gas, we don't have luxury of having large-scale hydro, we have to depend necessarily on the coal power plants to stabilize the grid, and we have to operate them at the flexible, in a flexible way. So it has its own implications. Now, Ministry of Environment and Forest has notified the revised norms. They are supposed to kick in by end of current year. Now, for compliance of these norms, there will be high investment and changes required in the fossil fuel-based power plants. For example, installation of FGD will require lime as input and disposal of gypsum. I mean, these are again the things that is coming up. I mean, we already know that this is going to happen. Now, we have to work on that. Now, how do you want to handle these issues? Is it technical issues? The concurrent HR issues also need to be done. How do I want to address this issue? Who is going to handle it? So these are the ones which we can anticipate. Commissioning and operating high voltage transmission lines, HVDC lines have their own challenges. Operation of national grid and maintaining grid discipline has its own set of challenges. Now the whole grid is operating at one frequency as a one grid. If you look at the app Vidyut Prabha, which indicates price in the power exchange every 15 minutes on real-time basis, you find large number of days, large number of time slots. There is a uniform price everywhere, all across the country. Yes, there are sometimes market gets split because of this congestion, but then Fortunately, as on today, the congestion, inter-regional congestion is, at least at the moment, looks like thing of the past. And the policy of the Government of India is to make sure that there is sufficient transmission capacity, inter-regional transmission capacity available to ensure that there is no congestion and then a particular region is not deprived of availability of the power, or they have to pay high cost because of there is a lack of corridor capacity to transfer power. So in that context now, how do you want to run the grid? How do you want to stabilize the grid? How do you want to respond to various issues? So these are again the challenges which comes from the grid point of view. Distribution of power is going to see the maximum change, and anything else is going to back-ended by it. Transformation by way of smart grid, mini grid, rooftop solar are already happening. Government of India, along with concerned state governments, have formulated state-specific plans and power sector companies for building 24/7 electricity networks. Every state government has signed a document with Government of India with the approval of the respective state government cabinet to go agree to a path where they are going to ensure, saying that by so and so date, we are going to ensure that 24/7 power supply is available to all the consumers. As Honorable Prime Minister had announced that about 18,500 odd villages are there in the country which didn't have access of electricity. Now, out of those 18,000, we have already covered about more than 12,500, about 5,000 odd villages are there to be covered. I'm just talking about the access. So you, in the time frame that has been indicated or given by Honorable Prime Minister, will be able to achieve electrification of these remaining 5,000 odd villages. But the more challenging task is about 5.5 crores households are there in the country who don't have access. This is an estimated number. We can dispute the number. It is whether 5.5 crores or 5 crores, but doesn't make a difference. But point is that large number of households still don't have access to electricity. We are targeting that by 2019 or 2020 latest, we'll try to give access of electricity to all these households. Sometimes issue comes that the demand issue of the power sector. If you look at in the current year itself, the demand, the energy generation is growing about close to 6.5 to 7%, including renewables. Now, issue is that there is excess capacity. The growth is about 6.5%, 7%. As was pointed out, the large part of areas where the power is not supplied because of various reasons, maybe because technical reason, maybe because the DISCOM don't have the capacity to buy power and supply, and they have their own financial issues. So giving access to all the households will definitely boost the demand, but also you have to examine it in the context of the other emphasis that is coming from Government of India on the energy efficiency. The LED program that has been launched by the government is one of the scheme which it is not run on government grant, it is not run on government subsidy, but it has picked up because of the peculiar business model that has been involved in propagating this particular scheme. And the LED bulbs, that about 40 odd crores of LED bulbs that has been bought by the consumers in the country so far in last 2 years. If you add the savings that has come from there, it is estimated on an average that about 12,000 megawatt of avoided capacity has been created, in the sense that just because of the energy efficiency, your demand has come down about 10,000, 11,000 megawatt. So we have, these again are the disruption. Probably in 2015 when the LED bulb program was launched, it was not anticipated. Now these are the things which has created problem. Now on one side you have created capacity. On the power demand is growing at about 6.5%. You are focusing on the energy efficiency because the benefit goes to the consumer. Of course, it helps the grid. It helps in lowering the peak load. It helps in flattening the demand curve. So these are the things that is operating in the power sector which needs to be appreciated. And it has its own challenges. It has own challenges how to going to run this power sector. So as was pointed out by Mr. Sahi, I fully agree with him. These are the things we should anticipate, we should visualize and do the correct HR strategy to address the issues. The Government of India has launched two major schemes. One is Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana, and IPDS scheme. One is to augment and strengthen the rural and distribution sectors, and the other one is the urban distribution sector by investing on the infrastructure, upgrading the facilities, and making it IT enabled. We had the scheme earlier also, where a lot of money was spent on making the system IT enabled. We did implement it, but the total output or the result was not as encouraging as we anticipated. Maybe one of the reasons was that the programs that we formulated at that time and implemented was slightly ahead of time. But today, with large scale IT penetration in all the sectors, the power sector is responding, the distribution companies are responding much more positively to the idea of making it IT enabled. The issue here is, moment you make it IT enabled and reduce the human interface, many other issues that get suppressed when you talk about the macro numbers comes out individually. For example, there is the issue of high AT&C losses in the distribution, in the DISCOMs. Now, when you talk about the macro number, somebody says that's 23%, 26%, 25%. That doesn't lead anywhere, because what is required is that if I am to reduce the AT&C losses to say 15% or 14%, I have to go feeder wise. Now, what we have done is, as far as the urban areas are concerned, about 38,000 feeders are there. We have made them IT enabled. They communicate on their own to the state SCADA center, and also it comes to the national portal here. Maybe on the 1st of April, we will open up to the public, where anybody can see in any distribution companies in the urban areas which are the feeders which showing losses, how much losses it's showing. The idea is to disclose this information so that the system pressure is created on the system, and there is enough pressure on the DISCOM to take action to correct the losses that is happening. I have a view on that. AT&C losses are lower, are not mainly because of the technical issues. It is largely because of the governance issue. So distribution administration is large part governance issue. So we are basically working on enabling, putting ITA system in place, so that a lot of information which is of public interest, which relates to efficiency in the operation, gets flagged at various level, gets available to the public. People can debate about it and create a system, create a pressure on the system, both at the state level and DISCOM level, and also the Government of India, to see that the steps are taken to correct this position. So these are the things that is happening in the power sector, and these are a small disruption which has been introduced into the system. There are a lot of efforts are being made to reduce the cost of generation of power. We have already issued guidelines about the swapping of coal linkages. Maybe 3 to 4 years back, it was almost impossible, saying that you allow a corporation to aggregate all the coal linkages and swap it. Few days back, about 10 days back, we issued the guideline of tolling. Now we have allowed the the generating companies, the state generating companies, to use the coal. If they don't want to use it in their own power plant, based on that coal, they can take out the bid, give the coal to a private sector, and buy power instead. I mean, these are again, look at what is happening. I mean, this probably up to few months back or 1 year, it was just impossible. There was a shorter scenario of coal. Nobody talked about saying that the coal, how can coal be given now? But here we are taking our guideline, saying that now this coal belongs to you, but if you don't want to use it in your own power plant, there's an inefficient power plant that you are using it, just shut it down. There are private sector power plants available. We don't have a PPA. Take this coal. Based on this coal, you bid it out, and if you get a good competitive bid tariff of power, you can keep this coal, say for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and then take power instead. And so this tolling guideline has been issued. These are the, again, changes, large disruptive for a power sector, traditional, which runs on the traditional way we have run it for so many years. These are the changes that is coming out. The system, the sector has to cope with this. And that as a concurrently, both the engineers and everybody has to work out how we're going to do it. It's not a very easy task to take out this bid, evaluation the bid, give the coal. I mean, a lot of effort has to be made. So these are the changes that is happening. Today it looks small, but it has tremendous impact on the way the power sector will function in future. We have been exporting power to Bangladesh. We have been exporting power to Nepal. We are importing power from Bhutan. Now we have started exporting power to Myanmar. So the inter-regional in the SAARC countries are also getting integrated. And I'm sure that in days to come, all the neighboring countries around India, this cooperation in the power sector will become much more stronger. Now that will again create challenges. How we're going to address those issues from the HR point of view. There are talk about setting up joint sector projects combined together in one country, getting into a third country, equity participation in a project in the third country. So tremendous amount of opening up of the power sector is happening with the neighboring countries. So in the light of this development, some of the HR challenges for the future would be acquiring and managing talent, addressing manpower requirement for new and evolving areas, and providing adequate training and working environment. The power sector will require IT professionals, finance professionals, as was pointed out, managers at all levels to implement the plans. They would be open to new ideas to steer through the changes. Retention of high potential manpower needs to be assured by suitable policies. I'm not going to go into detail of it. You are all experts are there. They can suggest how to do it. Competencies need to be contextualized, as was mentioned, with environmental demands, with changes in time. HR therefore needs to keep updating the competency model. The sector requires a bank and inventory talent and diversified skill which can be utilized for future roles and challenges. Even the technological mindset of the employees have to be converted into business mindset, because it's more technology and business both have to run together. The power sector needs to encourage innovation, as was pointed out. I fully agree, and therefore employees have to be groomed to innovate. So in sum, a paradigm shift is going to take place. The way we generate power, the way we will transmit power, distribute power, and consume power. There will be highly efficient and will be steered through an increased usage of technology. Energy environment interface is going to determine the global agenda as well as the individual lifestyle. Energy sector is going to deal with these creative discontinuities. These discontinuities are bound to have impact on the HR policies, as I mentioned earlier, and practices. In view of this, energy sector may have to deal with more challenges on the HR front as compared to many other sectors that is similarly placed. In view of this centrality of the energy sector, the need for in-depth and continuous deliberations on energy issues with a view to finding out viable energy solutions cannot be overemphasized. Obviously, HR will have a key role in promoting energy solutions for the future, which is going to be increasingly more complex. If a future is marked by competitiveness through radical energy productivity, an equally productive HR approach will be required. And I'm sure this summit will explore those possibilities and come out and with suitable strategy. But as was mentioned earlier, we have to understand what is happening in the power sector, both locally in the domestic sector and globally. We have to anticipate the changes. There will be changes which will come from outside, from the external sources. There are a lot of changes and disruptions will be coming up from within the system. If you can anticipate and put the strategy in place and create the support base of the HR, it will be much more easy to manage the power sector. But the fact remains saying that it will be more and more complicated. But I'm sure there is enough talent available in the country which will be talent available in the country which can manage the sector and address other issues. So I once again thank you for inviting me and allowing me to share some of the things that is happening in the power sector. I'm sure that the issues that I have flagged will you will consider that and see what strategy that you suggest to address those issues. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. May I now request Mr. Dhananjay Singh, Director General, NHRDN, to please propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Professor. In 1857, nobody believed that India will become an independent country. But there was a change in mindset which ensured that in 1947, 15th August, we become independent. So if you see all the speakers who are there on the stage today, they talked about the same thing, the mindset, something which goes here, something which goes here, which is invisible, which we can't see, but we can see the changes which it brings to our life. It's such a privilege to be with such thought leaders, and we could not have a better opportunity or better people to begin the inaugural session other than the people who are here. So let's hear for each one of them who are there on the stage, please. Shri Pujari ji, BIMTech NHRDN is committed to this cause. Last year we started with the Power Summit. Soon we realized that power is too small to change the landscape, and we decided we will organize Energy Summit, and it's here. This year, this is being live telecasted all across the globe. It's available, people, you can watch this live wherever you are across the globe. For the first time, under the leadership of Dr. Preetam Singh, Dr. Chaturvedi, Professor K.K. Sinha and the team, we conducted, sir, a primary research. We do not want to come to the conference just like that. We wanted to do a primary research, which will give us real life findings. And it is not only from the HR perspective, we also reached out to the overall organization. What is the other perspective which is there? And during the sessions, all the sessions, we'll be sharing the findings of the research. Sir, it will be a privilege for BIMTech and HRDN to be of any assistance to your endeavors in building people development initiatives of your ministry, and the larger issue which you talked about, how we can support the primary education in the country. And many of us believe that it is the root, it is the base which ensures what kind of building we are going to build. So thank you indeed, sir. Let's hear loud applause for our Shri Pujari ji who is here with us. Sai Sahab, whatever we see in the power sector, very pivotal role you have played in the sector, sir. And whether it is this program or any government initiative which the Government of India has taken in the recent past, you have been the strongest of the pillars, sir. Your presence here bears testimony to the fact that how passionate you are and how critical you see the role